What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Marvel Plus podcast, the show where we talk the Marvel shows on Disney Plus and how they connect to the MCU. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011, and you can usually catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv /Enigma9011. You can drop a follow over there, let you know when we go live. You can get a notification, but if you can't catch it live, that's a-okay. Usually drops right here on YouTube the following Monday after the episodes air, so you can check it out over there, hear the recap, hear the thoughts, share them with us as well in the comments, and let's have a fun discussion about what these shows are all about. Today we're playing a little bit of catch up. We're playing catch up on Secret Invasion. We are going to be talking about Secret Invasion episodes 3, 4, and 5. Now, granted, upon release, episode 5 is the latest one. If you're interested in just the latest stuff, because we are doing a giant episode today, there will be timestamps down below, so you can jump to whatever episode respectively that you want to tune in, listen to, hear all the fun theory talk, etc. I don't want to waste your time there. So we'll be discussing those three thoughts and theories, all the recaps, the usual. But like I said, if you want to jump to a certain episode, you have the freedom to do that. So let's jump on into it. Let's start with episode 3, simply called Betrayed. So it's been a while since I had watched the show. Literally just watched them today as recording. Since watching part 2, or episode 2. So we left off with a bunch of things going on from episode 2. So we learned about Gravik's backstory with meeting Fury. We learned about there's a shit ton of Skrulls around, being a million, just kind of hanging out and chilling. War Machine's kind of a dick. We'll learn why. Gravik appointed himself a leader in kind of this hostile takeover with the Council. Super Skrull potential with the science experiments. And then Fury is married to a Skrull. A lot of things going on there. So as we open this episode, we learn of the next kind of part in the phase of the Skrull plan. They're going to invade not the UN, excuse me. They're going to invade the Royal Navy for England, and they're going to cause some more turmoil to kind of push towards this world war to make the human race, get them out of the picture so the Skrulls can kind of take over Earth as their own planet. We hear Gravik explaining this, and he confirms the Super Skrull project of we can all become super ourselves, and this will lead to the extinction of the human race. So they're going to have that strike on a UN, we learn later, plane, and that will kind of be their next step of the plan. After this, we get a little bit of a flashback going to New York City in 1998 as Fury's going to meet up with, as we learn, his future wife. She goes by Vara here. Then it's later Priscilla. So I don't know what name we're going with. Later on, we kind of get more of a Priscilla vibe. So I'm going to go with that. So we see their initial meet, and kind of the sparks fly between them. And then we get caught up with them present day, hearing a little bit of the tension between them just because how Fury was gone for years with the snap, and then afterwards he was gone again, but that time it was voluntary as he went up to the sword, or what I think is the sword. It's not sword. The space base, and kind of hung out there for years while Talos was taking his position on Earth. Priscilla's going to get a call from somebody. She claims she doesn't have the information at this time, and that's where we're going to leave that there. We're going to get a little follow-up on Brogan and his torture scenario with Sonya to get the information of what was going on with the Skrull plan, and Gravik kind of questions Gaia about this. Nobody knew about their location between a few people. Brogan was not involved in that, and somehow, obviously, that information got out. So, questions her about it. She says she has no idea. Maybe Brogan just took a best educated guess instead of lying or whatever. Gravik kind of accepts this, says they have an early mission tomorrow. The two leave on a plane, and they are heading to a meeting with Talos, which we saw last episode. Talos trying to set up with, I think it was the other World Council lady who kind of called and left. So the two are going to meet for their parlay meeting. They meet in an art gallery, eventually sit down for some coffee, and apparently Gravik likes a lot of sugar. I don't know why that was needed here. But the conversation between the two kind of tense. Gravik threatens Gaia, and Talos flips out. Goes to grab him, and it's revealed that the rest of the crowd in the coffee shop is Skrulls as well. So it's not really as even footing of a meeting as Talos thought initially. Talos, seeing that he's not getting anywhere with Gravik, kind of mentions, like, be careful going against the humans, because the humans are most formidable. I put formidable here. Notes. Formidable, and they're threatened by a common foe. And Gravik's going to threaten Gaia one more time. This time, Talos is going to stab him with like a butter knife in the hand and then leaves. Gravik, to our knowledge, now pulls his hand, revealing that the Extremis has healed him, so he has put himself into the Super Skrull machine. An old man is going to bump into Talos outside. He apologizes and hands him a phone. Gravik attempts to follow the new old man, questioning what that was all about. And as he rounds the corner, we see Gaia waiting by the car that they came. And was she the old man? It seems like she was. Talos is going to meet with Fury at a cafe. Oh, wait, that's not planned. Fury kind of ambushes him as he's eating this English breakfast, I believe. Talks about a Skrull high up in the U.S. government and wants help, but Talos wants very specific verbiage because obviously the tension between them from the day earlier. Regrettably, Fury does. I guess he just doesn't want to acknowledge he's wrong, but Talos acknowledges it after Fury says it, pats him on the arm, and the two decide to work together again. So they meet up together. We reveal that Gaia was the old man that gave him a burner phone. Fury's going to call Sonya and gets info about a certain British Parliament person? I don't know, government official. And she says she'd love to help, but unfortunately she's dealing with something on her own in the butcher shop and how that was found out and stuff like that. So, as Fury and Talos are heading to this building to find this certain infiltrator, the two kind of start talking about their relationship, and they're really still on edge from all the tension that they've kind of built up with that argument they got into. And Fury seems to be kind of, I don't know, Fury goes back and forth, at least for me, being like, oh yeah, he's right, and then, oh my god, you're really pushing, kind of an asshole. This is kind of one of those moments where I'm like, oof. And not just this series, I mean the whole MCU entirely. He's kind of taking all the credit when the Skrulls helped him out a lot. Spying, infiltrating, getting intel, all these things, where Talos is like, by us doing this, this is when you started ascending the ranks in S.H.I.E.L.D., and when we first met you, you were kind of just a dude. So the two kind of get into it, and, you know, Talos just doesn't want like a thank you or anything. He just doesn't want the rewriting of history, I believe is what he said, especially while he's there. So in this argument, they eventually get to the location very quickly, and we try and stop this Parliament member. So we learn that this member, or this government member rather, is kind of like the authority to cause this missile strike from the submarine on the UN plane, and that's why they're trying to stop this attack. So this guy is a Skrull, and he's not giving up the code that is needed to stop the attack. We also kind of see that there's a Skrull on the submarine, as one of the other submarine personnel is kind of like, why are we attacking the UN ship? That's awful. We shouldn't be doing that. But the other guy's very pushy and just for it, so I assume he's a Skrull. Luckily, through some shenanigans and Gaia's help being on the inside, Talos and Fury are able to get the code to kind of call off the attack by Gaia breaking in, going to the holding cells where they have all the real individuals that they're kind of possessing, taking the identity of, going through his memories, finding out the code is his son's name, and providing that to, Fury and Talos. So they're able to stop the attack. Woohoo! For the good guys. Gaia, after this, clearly needs to get out of there, as this will be very apparent that someone inside is the traitor, potentially even herself. So she tries to leave on a motorcycle. As Gaia is leaving, she notices that there's nobody at the watch post, kind of seemingly at the front door, and she leaves and gets ambushed outside by Gravik. Gravik said he didn't fail in the attack because finding the traitor was essential, and he will shoot Gaia on the spot, seemingly killing her. There's a call to Priscilla. She's kind of tending to some plants, and we'll see that after the call she grabs some keys. She leaves the house and is at an airport. Seems to be followed at the airport. Heads to a lockbox. Lockbox has a pistol. She's called again, and there's a different voice on the phone, or at least that the audience can hear this time. It is Rhodey. And Rhodey tells her location and time. She says she needs to speak to Gravik, and that's where we end this episode. Seems that Rhodey is a Skrull. Wow, okay, so that kind of explains why we thought he was a giant dick in episode 2, because, well, it's not him. So now the question really lies in, if you want to start picking everything apart, is, okay, when did shit hit the fan? When did he get taken over? When is he got possessed? Not possessed, but like, when did the Skrull step in? And I'm sure there's other people who have done videos on these episodes breaking it down, maybe gone even back and like been like, oh yeah, this could be a good part. I'm assuming they're going to explain this later, as we'll continue talking the episodes. But that's something to think about. It's an easier person to kind of disguise themselves at, with him not having superpowers himself and just being the guy in the suit. But time will tell. So let's move on to episode 4. Episode 4, titled Beloved, or Beloved, as they seem to like to call it in this episode. So we'll open with Gaia's body laying there, as Gravik just shot her. And we see a little bit of a flashback before she actually escaped. Before leaving, she looked through another woman's memories that was kind of held in these cells. Grabs a vial, went to the lab, and we see her actually put herself through the Super Skrull machine. So she has now gone through that operation as well. So we'll see the extremists kind of heal her. She wakes up and is able to leave after getting shot as well. We'll do a little flashback, very quick one, going to Paris 2012. Fury's at a bar meeting his wife, and they talk about the battle in New York and assembling the Avengers. And they kind of share a moment where Priscilla shares one of her favorite poems. I don't remember the poet's name, but goes through that, and they share a little bit moment, kind of reading it back and forth and just building on their relationship there. Present day, we're going to pick up with Priscilla and that phone call of last episode with Rhodey giving the location and time for them to meet. And they're meeting up at a church during church session, which weird that they're doing that. But they're talking about the firing. Shout out little wrestling references, a little DDT off top rope, some Undertaker stuff, yada yada. I just personally popped for that. And this Skrull, who is Rhodes, wants her to kill Fury. I assume, with Priscilla's knowledge, Fury is actually listening in on this conversation. If she doesn't know, maybe that'll explain the tension later. I don't know if he bugged something on her. But anyways, Fury is listening in on this whole thing. So he knows that the attack is coming. Quick glimpse over back to the Skrulls. We see Pagan. I think his name's Pagan. Kind of freaking out like, Gaia's not here. Gaia must be the Bret, blah, blah, blah. And Gravik's like, bro, I already took care of it. She's fine. And they talk about the next step in their plan of whatever attack they are going to be doing. They're talking about staging it like the Russians. They're aggressive, things like that. They really put on a show. So we know something's going on. And with U.S. and Russian, relationships, I'm sure that would be a great time. And everything's going to go swell. Talus and Guy are going to finally meet. Talus apologizes for forcing her into this and into this life, and Gaia says no, she did it herself under her own free will. And it kind of shows a little bit more of their relationship, of why there's a little bit of division in between them, and why maybe Gaia went towards Gravik's side towards this. And really, Gaia's only looking for a plan. Like, what is your plan in terms of our people and our home? Like, what are we going to do? Because they've been obviously chilling on Earth, hiding for a long time. Talus mentions talking to the president after all this is all over about amnesty for saving the planet and pretty much like co-inhabiting. I don't know the right terminology here, but like living together on Earth with the humans. Guy's very doubtful of this and leaves. We hop back to the Fury household. Priscilla returns, notices the wedding ring just kind of off and in a bowl, I guess. And this is the point I was questioning. I'm like, I don't know if she knows he listened to. I assume she did. But Fury pretty much lays it out there like, I know you're supposed to be here to kill me. So they both take out guns and put it on the table. And Fury asks about the story of choosing her skin, her appearance, her persona. And she mentions Dr. Priscilla had I think it was Dr. Priscilla, because her name's not Priscilla. See, this is where it gets confusing of what her actual name is. Dr. Priscilla had a disease she was going to die from. She didn't want anybody to know and to sit around her body for days and days and days and kind of just, be in that grief. So she didn't tell anybody, and apparently this Skrull visited her, talked to her, and eventually revealed what she wanted to do and asked for her permission to assume her identity. There's 3 things that Priscilla asked the Skrull to do in order to assume the identity. 1 was to continue to be a daughter to her parents. 2, oh boy, I'm going to forget one of them. I don't remember. 1 was blank. 1 was to be a daughter to her parents still. And then the 3rd was never to hurt Fury, because she had opened up about the relationship, or at least like how I guess she wanted the relationship. So she made the promise there not to hurt him ever. After hearing the story again, Fury recites the poem that we kind of opened with at the beginning of the episode, and the two kind of recite it together. They get to the end of the poem, both pick up their guns and they shoot. We get a little bit of a tense moment where they kind of pan around the apartment or the house, different sections, different areas. But it's finally revealed that they both shot to the side of one another. I think Fury shot like a mask on the wall, and then Priscilla shot maybe a frame or a plant, but obviously they both avoided it. She asks if he would have loved her if she was ever her true self. He walks away, which I was like, we talked about this, I believe, in episode 2, or kind of questioned it, like, that's kind of dickish. And then he says, I guess we'll never know. Probably because they think they don't know the outcome of the future. No one does. But, like, we'll have to see. I don't know. This seems to be a sensitive talking point, as we'll get into later episodes, of like, oh, you're not really your skull persona. You're just disguising yourself as this human lady. It's like, I don't know. To me, it feels icky. Like, I get it. Like, oh, that's nice. You're doing that for him. But, like, if he's just like, not about it, and I don't know. It's weird. I assume there's going to be some kind of reasoning for that, and I'm kind of leaning into episode 5 a little bit for that. So, future sight, I guess, whatever you want to call it. There has to be a reason that she's favoring more the human side than her actual self. But we did see her as a Skrull at the end of episode 2 when we got all this reveal. But we'll see. Time will tell. So now we're going to see a scroll. We're going to see them showering. We presume it's Priscilla, or at least I did at first. Turns out it's going to be the War Machine Rhodey scroll. And Fury is in their room. Offers a drink. Once again, warns him about scrolls in the U.S. government. And he's like, oh, they're closer than we are right now. So clearly he's letting this scroll know, hey, I'm on to you. And the scroll doesn't want his initial deal of like, oh, I won't say anything if you just hire me back. And he counters offer with footage of Gravik disguised as Nick Fury shooting Maria Hill. He's like, you see this? If this goes out, you're going to be the most wanted and most hated man on the planet. And they share a drink. I think it was Pappy or something like that. Alcohol. And it turns out that Fury used a liquid location tracker. How does that work? I don't know. Is it full-time? Is it temporary until he pees? Who knows? Who cares? But I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's where we're going. So Talos and Fury follow Rhodes as he is leaving the apartment. Rhodes, quote unquote, is going to meet with the president off of Air Force One. He's going to some meeting or whatever, but an escort. And the president can tell that there's something off about Rhodey because he smells like the booze. And he's like, oh, well, I guess you're a bit nervous about things. Rhodey's going to give a little call over to Gravik about the transit, tells Gravik where the president is, specifically in the car lineup. And this is when the Skrulls will attack with a missile strike. Fury and Talos following see the attack and kind of veer off course to kind of circle around the group, as we'll see later. Quick sidebar question. They nicknamed the president the Citadel. Okay, great, whatever. Codes, that's fine. We hear all this chatter while the gunfight's going. Bah, 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 bah. You know, Skrulls and Americans fighting each other, right? You hear one of them say, go on, the Citadel, go on fire, the Citadel's alive. Like, okay, I get it, they confirm. What's the president's status? Totally fine with that. Would they have stopped if he was dead? Like, oh, Citadel's dead, everybody just hands up, give it up, we'll back off. Like, that just, very stupid, very random sidebar of me. Just was like, okay. You couldn't just been like, he's okay, keep going. Like, I don't know, maybe that was all it was and it just sounded weird verbiage. But the Skrulls, as they're attacking, they're all shouting in Russian. They're doing exactly what they said they're going to do, really make it seem like it is the Russians that are attacking, to build this tension between obviously these two global powers. And I say to myself as I'm watching this, man, this is going to be rough to cover up. Fury and Talos finally arrive. Like I said, they kind of did a through a pit maneuver and went to the back of the group. They grab guns from their back and they're going to attempt to save back of their car. They're going to grab guns and attempt to save the president as they attack from behind. Pagan, once again, I assume that's his name, tells Gravik, and Gravik's like, uh-oh. We see him use the Super Skrull powers a little bit with the extendo arm, which I believe is Groot's power. So we see him use that. Luckily, some reinforcements arrive. They recognize Fury. Hey, all good there. And Gravik tells Pagan to take care of Talos. Talk about no coverage. All right. These guys, the British military, we see an aerial shot. They make a little line around Talos and Fury as they head to the vehicle, right? We see a clear shot to the president and Talos, line of sight, no protection. You didn't think they'd make a bubble around or like some kind of semicircle thing around the car? Worst protection of a person. What's English? What are we doing here? Pagan just goes, here's my gun, ping, and just nails Talos right in the chest. He gets shot. So he gets shot. He's starting to revert back to his alien self. Meanwhile, he's been taking his hand. He's trying to bash the window in. I thought the Skrulls were strong. I don't know why it's so hard to break this window, but also it's a presidential vehicle. Maybe it's super bulletproof. Who knows? Probably should be, right? One of the guards notices that Talos is changing back, but Fury defends him. Steps right in front of him, is like, hey, he's with me, don't worry about it. The guard's like, okie dokie. Fury grabs the president and says he'll be back for Talos. Brings president to the car, turns around, and the guard who pointed him out earlier has decided to assist Talos and help him. As Fury turns around, he sees this, he's like, oh great, and then the guard stops, dead in his track. It's revealed it's Gravik. He stabs Talos. Fury freaks out, shoots him a bunch. Gravik and Pagan go peace out on a motorcycle, and Fury leaves with the president, wrapping up episode 4. So seemingly Talos is dead. Yikes. Yeah, this was a good one. Very tense. Yeah, that's a lot of cover-up. So that's a little rough. But we'll see a little bit of how this plays out in episode 5. So speaking of episode 5, let's talk about episode 5, Harvest. We're going to see the president enter the hospital. The Fury the whole time while they're transporting him is like whispering, shouting to the president, it's not the Russians, don't trust Rhodey, blah blah blah. He doesn't have clearance to go into the operation room, whatever, so they continue on. We see the news reporting on a shape-shifting alien on the scene. I don't know how they got a photo of that camera shot when it was literally the camera shot we, the audience, saw. It's one of the biggest hang-ups I have in any movie everywhere, where it's like, I literally just saw that shot, and you're telling me someone else in the world was like, oh, like, they're on the battlefield. What do you got? The wartime photographer up there? Like, what do you mean? So that was a little dumb, but that's just a general cinema bitching moment that I had. Fury posts up at the door, draws his gun, protects President as he assumes there'll be some follow-up. We'll see Pagan and the Skrulls leaving a car at New Skrullos. Newest recruit starting to look a little doubtful, a little scared. Don't blame him. And Gravik kind of has a meeting with all of his operatives. He says, they didn't succeed at killing... they didn't succeed. They killed Talos, but not the president. And blames Pagan for not stealing something that would have allowed Gravik to take out the convoy single-handedly. I don't know what that was. But anyways, Pagan pushes back at him. And it's like, you knew Vara, which I believe is Priscilla's Skrull name. Vara would have never killed Fury. You could have killed him today, but you didn't. Blah, blah, blah. Pagan's pushing back. We're seeing some tension between the Skrulls. Gravik grabs him with the super stretchy arm and kills him. And he literally yells at all the operatives. You're voiceless. You're nameless. You don't mean anything. La 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 la. And he sends some of the operatives to go kill Vara, Priscilla, whatever you want to call her. You can see the operatives are scared. The newest recruit kind of lingers a little bit, but then eventually he leaves. Gravik hops on the phone. He calls Rhodes and tells him of a little change of plans. He wants him to keep the president alive. Excuse me. Wants him to tell him it was the Russians who attacked him and the Skrulls that attacked him, and show footage, like an aerial shot of New Skrullos in Russia that will obviously show the relationship there. So he's kind of like sacrificing his own people with this new plan. Interesting. So Rhodey is going to show up. Rhodey is going to show up at the hospital, and Fury immediately grabs him. Tension, obviously. They talk about the whole attack, yada yada. Rhodes reveals that the footage of Nick shooting Maria Hill is going to be shown, and you should just get out of here. Like, things are going to be awful for you. He lets Rhodes go. He starts leaving, and many guards show up with weapons drawn. And Rhodes is pretty much like, this is just a taste of what you're going to get. Ha 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 ha. Whatever. We go to London. We're going to see that the footage is shown on the news sites. And Sonya is here to see the Skrull disguised as a guard that we saw last episode. Yeah. Couldn't tell you his name. Don't know. But we see her interrogate this guy, reveals that he's a Skrull to the rest of the agency or government body that runs in after they see a shot, or hear a shot rather, that his hand is alien-esque. And she wants a location of a Dr. Dalton, who is revealed to be the woman doctor we saw earlier working on the Skrull project. We're going to be hopping around a lot of locations here, so I apologize. We go to Skrullos. Beto, who is the newest recruit, talks to Gravik about Pagan. And he's like, this is, things aren't great. He was supposed to be the best or a real strong one, and now he's not here with us, whatever. While this is happening, Gravik gets a call from Rhodey with an update on the president. And as you see this phone call going on, you see a Skrull stand up behind him with a sledgehammer, and you're like, uh-oh. Skrulls attack Gravik. They're done. They're sick of this shit. They see that it's gone far too down the hill of badness, and they revolt. I think it's 4 or 5 of them. They're able to get him on a table. They're all whopping the shit out of him, punching him, hitting him, stuff like that. They got a bag over his head. I don't know if they were trying to suffocate him. Probably. But Gravik is unfortunately able to fight off the group and kills them, and then finally kills Beto in front of the rest of the town outside to kind of just more assert his dominance. So a little unfortunate. It's one of those things, a little too late for that. We're going to hop back to Fury. He's entering a building, ends up meeting with Gaia, and it's the room that we saw, I believe, over in episode 2, where we saw this kind of, not resistance group, but the spy Skrull group be started, and where we saw Kid Gravik meet Fury. It's that room. And, they kind of talk about what's going on. She talks about how, Gaia talks about how initially she ran away from her father because she knew he would lose. And Fury's like, no, we didn't lose. He was still fighting, blah, blah, blah. And Talos had told Fury about Gaia's resurrection, and he asks her about that. And it's from stolen DNA. He didn't have a lot of it, but it was from Cull Obsidian. We talked about this in the episode 2 recap. Cull Obsidian, big dude from Thanos' thing, the guy who got his hand chopped off. And then Flora Colossus is the other name she said. I'm assuming that's Groot, because there's not many of them. And I think the Collector may have said that back in Guardians 1. You go check it out, but I'm assuming that's Groot. So bing bang. She only mentions those two. She didn't mention an extremist thing, and she didn't mention the ice giant thing we thought we saw on the computer. So I don't know if those are in play. Obviously, extremist is in play because we saw both her and Gravik heal with that, but I digress. She only mentions those two. And mentions that Gravik's looking for something called the Harvest. And I'm like, okie dokie. Fury's going to throw some keys to Gaia. Says, take your dad to Priscilla. She'll know what to do. Cops arrive. Fury's like, see you later. I'm out of here. Let's hop back over to Sonya. Sonya is in the lab, or a lab, and the Skrull doctors arrive. She interrogates them about the DNA machine, finds out what she needs to, burns the lab. Male Skrull breaks out of the handcuffs and threatens female Skrull and is like, oh, I'll take her life, blah, blah, blah. And Sonya's like, yeah, I don't doubt that. Pulls out a gun, blah, and shoots him in the head. Female Skrull, ... maybe, freaks out a lot about this. Now, granted, I get it. Why wouldn't you? I'm not sure if she's a Skrull too. I would assume she is, because she was part of New Skrulls and all that stuff, but like, I don't know, she panicked a lot. Granted, it's a guy getting shot over your shoulder, so who am I to say? But anyway, Sonya takes care of business there. Back to Gaia. She arrives at the house with her dad's body, knocks on the door, no answer, decides to bust in. No one appears to be home, but Priscilla is there, gun drawn. Thinks Gaia is there for her. They talk about the dad and the burial. Oh, okay, we're all cool. Back to the hospital. President's in the hospital bed. He's woke up. Rhodey claims that the evidence of New Skrullos and the Russian stuff is from Sonya. President seems a little bit distrustworthy for this. Let's cut back to Gravik. Like I said, we're hopping everywhere. Gravik calls Fury. He says, hey, bring the harvest to me, and, we'll figure things out. We see Fury boarding a plane. The pilot comes out, gives him a secret identity, or like a new identity that he can use, passport, stuff like that. And that's pretty much it. I don't know if this guy was supposed to be important. I feel like the quote-unquote reveal was supposed to. I don't know if it's a former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. I kind of recall a pilot friend being somewhere. I don't know. I was thinking Carol. I was thinking Miss Marvel, but then, he would have been older. In WandaVision, was there a pilot friend that helped? Her hero name is Spectrum, but helped out Rambeau, Monica. Flip that. Monica and Rambeau, helped her out. I felt like we had seen this guy somewhere, or something along these lines. I don't know who it is. If it is somebody and I'm totally forgetting him, my bad. But yeah, gives him that. He's going to fly him over to somewhere. Go back to Priscilla and Gaia. We have the funeral for Talos. Honestly, I was a little surprised. I was like, oh, we're going to bring Talos back? Nope. He is, I guess, actually dead. And the two kind of talk to each other about, why does Gravik want to kill you? So as this conversation was going, it was like, okay, maybe the plant she has, maybe this is the harvest thing. It isn't. Gaia then questions Priscilla of being, in her own skin. And Priscilla gets really offended fast. So this is where the evidence points to, there's got to be something. Is she heavily scarred? Does she have... I really don't know. I don't know what the issue is. But there's some issue with being in her Skrull skin that really bothers Vara/Priscilla here. I was like, that's none of your business. Young people think they know everything. Whatever. And then Gaia finally asked, why didn't you run? You knew they were going to be sent here to kill you. Why didn't you leave, escape, whatever? And Priscilla mentions, the killer seeing her in her happiness and not just in a random dark alley. And then the attack starts. The two run to the lab. There's backpacks in there with lots of guns, and they just wipe the floor with these cats. They're dead. They defend themselves. Good on them. As Mrs. G in chat said, Finland is where we're going to pick up with Fury. We see there's a posting about Fury. Don't let him around. He's disguised as an older white gentleman with the widow... what was it called? Widow's Veil? I think that's what it was called. Technology. And he's going to get into a car with Sonya. We also see Gaia and Priscilla in a car. And Gaia leaves. I don't know what that was about. We're back to Fury and Sonya for one more scene. We are going to see the two driving towards the Russian border. And apparently Rhodey had asked for the Skrullos construction site. Sonya didn't know that Rhodes was a Skrull, learns about it now. If they don't get the harvest, then Skrullos is going to be destroyed. So what is the harvest? The harvest is Avenger blood. Oh, sorry. Rather, is not that. The harvest, ... Fury explains it like this. Avenger blood was spilled at all the battles. Even Carol Danvers. They were gathered some of them. Jesus. They were gathered. And then some of the... Oh boy, I am butchering this. Avengers' blood was spilled in the numerous battles on Earth, it was gathered. Some of the heroes had the ability to blend in. Gravik and some other Skrulls were apparently part of the collectors that Fury had sent out. Fury is basically responsible for everything. He's taken this upon himself. That's why he hasn't called any of the Avengers. He says it's personal. He can't keep depending on them. And this is his fault. Okie dokie. Fair. I have some questions, but we're going to leave that at the end. They drive up to a grave. Grave happens to be Fury's. Opens it up. There's the harvest inside. Grabs the harvest from it. And then he's going to grab some other items from this monastery? No. Like a smaller shack of graves. He grabs his jacket. He grabs his eye patch, which I believe is from way back in Winter Soldier. The scene, thank you. The scene looks almost identical to when he was leaving stuff somewhere after Winter Soldier. Talk about a callback, because, like, he's given up the whole Nick Fury identity before, and then he's come back and be like, I have my eye patch, bitch. I have the jacket. Like, I'm still me. Like, I think this is from back in Winter Soldier, when S.H.I.E.L.D. collapsed. I'm really tempted to go back and watch the movie, even just the ending when they're all, like, signing off and be like, hey, we saved the day, and, like, Agent 13 goes to CIA and shooting stuff, and, like, they all go their separate ways. I'm pretty sure that's from this. Okie doke. Nice tie-in. But grabs his stuff, gives a little call to Gravik and says it's time, and that's what we'll leave off for our season finale in episode 6 here. Now, some questions. They mentioned some heroes have the ability to blend in. That has a big question mark on my head of, like, what hero that we know of had the ability to blend in, and what does that mean? Like, nobody had... Like, the Skrulls can already morph into others. What other morphing ability do they need to end? Yeah, it was Gravik he called at the end. He was like, yo, bitch, it's time. Let's meet up. I'm pretty sure it was. So that line had me a little confused of, like, I get it if it was, like, the Skrulls just wanted more power, right? Like, okay, Captain America bled, super soldier serum. If Thor bled, I don't know, super Norse shit. Carol bled, then it's the Kree blood, which the Krees and the Skrulls in comic book lore have always been against each other. You can make, like, kind of some superhuman or some super alien type thing. Totally get that. I'm not sure exactly this blending in verbiage, what that means. There was also one more thing that I kind of scratched my head about, and it was Fury and Sonya's conversation in the car leading up to this grave. She talked about she's the head of SIS now, and she's a little bit lost because of her scaled superior is gone. Was one of the Skrulls in charge of SIS prior, potentially? Or is this something else? Scaled superior. I don't know if I heard that wrong, but I was like, reptilian. I would think maybe it's Skrulls. Maybe that's why she's obviously very good at this, like, infiltration stuff. Of, like, oh, she already knows about the aliens, so she's not super perturbed about it. I don't know. That's interesting. We don't know anything about Sonya really besides this series, so there's a lot of questions about her. So who knows? Who has any idea? But yeah, heading into the finale, I thought, well, I mean, granted, I watched 3, 4, 5 in succession, but story's good. I'm enjoying it. It's one of those things where, especially with the Rhodey side of things, I hope they explain when that infiltration happened, and hopefully, like, it's going to be one of those things where it's tough. Like, was he a Skrull since Endgame? Because then that takes a lot from the character away. And it's like, or even before that, like, I'm not sure. He didn't seem as much of a jerk in Captain America Falcon and Winter Soldier. So I don't want to say it was then, but like I also feel like it needs to be something that makes you go, "Oh my god!" They're like, it's got to have some weight to it. So it's a mixed bag of like, "Oh, they were a Skrull the whole time." I don't know. Also, obviously, we're showing a lot of distrust, and we know there's a million Skrull on the planet. Like, how they didn't infiltrate other areas, or if it's going to make us like double question things. I don't know. That was a little bit of a worry towards the beginning of the series. Still here. There's only one episode left. Is this going to be a series? I don't think this is going to be one of those ones that gets a season 2, 3, etc. We haven't heard of many that are going to be doing that. Moon Knight's getting a second season. What If's getting a second season, but obviously that's a little bit different because that's hypothetical scenarios, minus that finale of the first one. I feel like there was another one, but no, I feel like this is going to be more of a contained story. I feel just because like it's doomsday pretty much if they don't succeed here. Oh, Loki, duh. So there's not a lot of going back if World War III is triggered and stuff like that. So I don't know what kind of follow-up they could have with the Secret Invasion story based on the intensity of the story we're telling here. That would be my only guess, is that this is just a standalone-esque one type thing. Like Falcon and Winter Soldier was set up for Captain America 4. WandaVision was a setup for Multiverse of Madness, the Doctor Strange film. Miss Marvel was a setup for the Marvels coming out in November. Like, I feel like most of them are going to be these one-off shoots until they tie into movie film thing. I just hope they answer all of our questions, but they never do. I feel like they do a decent job. There's still... I mean, okay, I guess that's fair. Like, what's going on with White Vision or New Vision? Like, where's he going, or what's he going to pop into? And then Loki has follow-up, so I can get why you would leave questions there. I'm trying to think of what other questions. She-Hulk wrapped up pretty nice. Moon Knight's getting a second season, so that leaves the cliffhanger there. That's fine. Why am I blanking on all the shows we've done? Hawkeye wrapped up. I think you might get a second Hawkeye. No, because Echo's getting her own series, I believe. So that will continue in that one. Yeah. So I don't know. I think they do a decent job. Yeah, it's going to be, it's depending. It's going to be a lot of information to fill in. Granted, episode 1 and 2, 55 and 58 minutes, I believe. Episodes 3, 4, 5 are 44, 30 something, and like 38. So they were shorter episodes. So I assume the finale is going to be another hour-long one. So I feel they'll have the time to do it. So questions we want answered, I guess, like, how is he going to deal with Gravik being superpowered? I guess Gaia would be my only answer of like Super Skrull versus Super Skrull. When did Rhodey get taken over? What's the Skrulls' relationship after all of this? Are they going to cohabitate Earth? Or I guess you could get... There could be a follow-up season if, like, this all happens and then it's like humanity very angry and tense for right reasons. I get it. You're scared. A lot's going on. Like, against the Skrull people. So it's like... Second season could be trying to win them over. I don't know how you would tackle that from a narrative at least a TV standpoint, but I could see like that being a tense discussion point in the world afterwards, where it's not just like, oh yeah, everything's cool. You tried to cause a world war, like one of those things where like one individual is so bad that it just blankets the rest with the blame, or like thinking that they're like that. And granted, New Scrollos, a lot of them are sharing that, but then obviously we see them as the audience revolting against that, but the rest of the world who is living these attacks doesn't see that. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. We'll have to see. But yeah, guys, this has been another episode of the Marvel Plus podcast. If you guys enjoyed this, make sure you guys drop a follow over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011. You can join the conversation live every Sunday, usually when we record these. Talk about the episodes, the recaps, all the theories, all that fun talk. But if you can't catch it live, that's okay. Keep it posted right here on YouTube. You can drop a subscription as well. They're free. You can do that. Episodes drop, usually the Monday after the episode airs, so you can check it out over there. Let us know what you thought and think in the comments below, and maybe we'll talk about it next time. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody, giving this a watch, giving a listen. Hopefully you're enjoying the series. Hopefully you're looking towards the finale. And until next time, guys, peace out. Have a good one. I'll see you guys later.